I'd like to take his face off.
Hello, and welcome back to more Films Under Constant Critique, where we take a look at films, some good, some bad, and some star Nicolas Cage. I'm Bongo Baikov, joined by our host, Maverick Drenzaria. This week we're taking a look at the film Face Off.
That's right. Probably the greatest John Woo movie ever made. Well, not probably, it is. It was directed by John Woo, released on June 27th, 1997, with a budget of $80 million and a box office of $245.7 million.
Yeah, it just barely missed out on being one of the top 10 highest grossing movies of 1997.
I feel like this should have been number one, personally.
It was the 11th highest grossing movie of that year.
Yeah, it did just barely miss out.
You mean to tell me Full Monty made more money than this film did? But anyway. But obviously, Titanic would have been the highest grossing.
Oh, yeah.
It did make more money than Con Air, though. And, of course, this marks the second John Woo directed movie that starred John Travolta.
It was pretty much back-to-back with Broken Arrow, too.
And this isn't the last time John Woo directed a Nicolas Cage movie, because he did
Really?
Wind Talkers.
Huh.
Which is not as good as Face Off. And this isn't the first Hollywood film John Woo directed, but it was the first one where he had creative control over it.
I think that kind of shows.
Yeah. It feels way
this...
more like a John Woo movie than Broken Arrow or even Hard Target did.
Because I feel like this might be the most insane movie we've watched on the podcast.
Might be. Let's see. Superman 3 was pretty crazy.
It was nuts, but it doesn't get to this level. I guess maybe some of the Mad Max films, but...
Fury Road.
Yeah.
Was pretty wild. The fucking guitar guy. Just the crazy designs in that movie alone. I mean, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2. I mean, how is that not the craziest movie we've done? I mean, the pacing on that movie is insane. I will say, though, this does have the most insane plot line.
It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
You know what really surprised me about the basic premise of this movie? It's never really been repeated.
No.
Like, you think that...
You've had variations, maybe just people disguising themselves as each other, but yeah, not quite like this.
And you think that, making a movie like this would just be an absolute cash cow, just get two celebrity actors and make them act like each other, and you've already just got a box office hit.
I also noticed Michael Douglas was an executive producer on this film.
Was he really?
Yeah,
I didn't catch that.
Yep.
Wow.
And the screenplay was by Graham Yost, who also wrote Speed.
Oh.
Hard Rain. I'm noticing a trend here. 90s action movies. Which Hard Rain also had Christian Slater in it. Which that actually, I have that on DVD, so we could do a podcast on that one if you ever want to.
I don't know if I've even heard of that one before.
It would get the return of Morgan Freeman, for one thing, so.
Oh, yeah.
The cast. Now,
This is... Okay, in a way, it's a stacked cast, even though there's only really two actors of note in this movie. But they just have such a huge presence.
Yeah, those being, of course, the main stars, John Travolta and Nicolas Cage, who play... Yeah. They both play the main good guy and the main bad guy in the movie.
Which is just brilliant.
It's so funny, just because these two, were huge stars at the time too. So seeing them like play themselves and also doing an imitation of the other actor is just incredible. I mean, just, and you're never gonna see that again either. I mean,
No.
just. And of course, John Travolta. We've had both John Travolta and Nicolas Cage on the podcast previously.
Yep.
Like literally the last two movies.
Yeah, the previous
on the
two
podcast
episodes
have had these two. But anyway, and most of the other actors in this, they're generally just supporting actors.
Yeah, the only other one of note that I can really think of is Alessandro Nivola, who plays Nick Cage's brother.
He was in Jurassic Park 3, I know that.
The best one.
The best one!
And apparently this was his first movie he was ever in.
This was?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I guess he is really young, so yeah.
Yeah, that is a hell of a start, though.
And you also have Joan Allen, which a few years before this, she played Pat Nixon in the movie Nixon. And she was also in Pleasantville. Gina Gershon, a few years after she was in Showgirls, which is a fucking... I don't even know what the hell that movie was supposed to be. I really don't. Like, I don't know if it was supposed to be satire or if they were actually trying to make a serious movie. It's hard to tell, but...
Well, that's an interesting poster.
Nick Cassavetes, he was the son of John Cassavetes. And he also directed the Nicholas Sparks movie, The Notebook.
Really? That was not expected. This guy was apparently also in The Hangover Part 2.
That's right, yeah. His cameo, I think, was originally... They were trying to get Mel Gibson or Liam Neeson, but they couldn't get either of those two, so... You got Nick Cassavetes instead. Very impressive. John Carroll Lynch, he was in Fargo and Zodiac. He played the guy that was suspected to be the Zodiac killer in...
Oh, okay. I could see that.
Arthur Lee Allen.
Oh, yeah.
As well as CCH Pounder, which she was in RoboCop 3, which is not as good as RoboCop 2. Thomas Jane, he was in this movie. He played the Punisher in a movie that also had John Travolta as the bad guy.
Really?
Yep. And it's also not as good as Face Off. But anyway. And this was apparently the first film score done by John Powell.
Huh.
So yeah. I'm not sure what else he did, but anyway.
He did the 2nd through 4th Ice Age films, The Road to El Dorado, Happy Feet, How to Train Your Dragon, Solo.
He did the music for Solo, really?
Yeah, apparently.
The Mario Van Peebles movie or Solo, a Star Wars story?
Solo, a Star Wars story.
Okay. So, getting to Face Off. This is one of 2 movies I can think of that have 2 actors playing Nicolas Cage. Which the other is Adaptation, where Nicolas Cage plays twins.
I have not seen that one.
It's an interesting movie. And come to think of it, this movie's plot is kind of similar to Ernest Goes to Jail.
You know, you're not wrong. There is some overlap there.
Okay, so initial thoughts on the movie. This is one of those movies that I kind of can't believe is a real movie.
It is a very, very strange movie.
In a good way.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, the only thing better than Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage is John Travolta playing Nicolas Cage.
He does such a good job at just going absolutely insane.
Yeah. And I gotta like that this isn't just like a standard action movie, because this actually, it's an insane movie, but it actually has a decent plot and character development.
Yeah. Like, one thing that I wanted to
It's
mention
not very
is,
subtle, but it does have
Yeah.
more thought put into it than just a typical 90s action movie. But anyway.
and that's what I was about to mention, like, with Con Air and with Broken Arrow, we're like, it's fun, it's stupid, and there's, like, not really a whole lot of plot there. This one, it's fun, kind of stupid, but there's also actually, like, a plot that happens. There are characters that do things throughout the movie.
I was caught off, but like I forgot how depressing parts of this movie are.
Yeah.
Because like the really sad parts in this movie, were actually getting to me. I was like, damn, that's actually,
Yeah.
And the huge part of the appeal is just the premise, and also just the style's really crazy.
Yeah.
And the acting, especially from John Travolta and Nicolas Cage. I mean, you have to get really, really good actors to sell a premise like this.
Yeah.
And I feel like these two were just perfectly cast in this.
It really is impressive at how well they can play each other.
Yeah, and play off of each other, too.
Yeah.
I also was noticing the poster for this movie looks sort of like the poster of Broken Arrow.
Yeah,
where
a
you
little
got
bit.
John Travolta's face next to another guy's face. And then I was also thinking, like, alternate casting choice for this. What if they did a version of this with Christopher Walken in one of the main roles?
Oh, that would be... that would be an interesting one.
Because then you'd get either Nicolas Cage or John Travolta doing a Walken impression.
Oh, I'd love to see Cage.
Because then they'd have to, like, pattern their speech after, like, how he talks as well. Just the weird pauses and stuff.
Yeah.
And the emphasis. Yeah, we can get into recapping this crazy, crazy plot line.
So, the very beginning of the movie is actually a flashback to 6 years before the events of the movie.
Which is playing
John
over
Travolta...
the opening credits.
Yeah.
Very flashy opening credits, too.
And so, we get John Travolta's character, Sean Archer, basically just riding a carousel with his son, when Nicolas Cage just kind of crawls out of a bush and tries to shoot him with a sniper rifle. He doesn't kill John Travolta, but he does kill John Travolta's son.
Yeah, it's a very depressing and ominous opening.
It's a sad start to the movie.
And there's like almost... I don't think there's really any dialogue during it either. It's just all music and visuals.
Yeah, and it's kind of like grayed out a little bit. Like, it's been like really desaturated.
Yeah, it looks
the
almost
color.
like it's in black and white, but not quite.
Yeah.
Also, like, Cage's mustache here.
Yeah.
He doesn't have it during the rest of the movie, but...
I know, it's like, did they really think it was that necessary for the flashback for Cage to have a mustache?
Maybe it was, like, left over from him filming Con Air or something, I don't know. And then it flash forwards, and you get John Travolta as the very depressed and restless FBI agent, Sean Archer. And he's hunting after a terrorist named Castor Troy, who is played by...
Nicolas Cage. And already, like, the very first, scene that we get with dialogue already has just a great quote.
We'll take a break when the case breaks.
The case breaks.
Yep.
And then there's also the quote where they're trying to figure out where Troy is. And Archer says, "Any word from the LAPD intelligence? If there is such a thing?"
If there is such a thing, yeah.
And then another character's like, "Not yet." And he goes, "Of course not, because we're a covert anti-terrorist team that is so secret that when we snap our fingers, nothing happens."
The poor guy. Not only does he have to go after this like just crazy terrorist, but it's the crazy terrorist that killed his son.
Exactly.
I mean, some pretty high stakes going on here.
Yeah.
And of course, Cage has a bomb.
He's setting up a nuke inside of the LA Convention Center.
Wait. So we go from a movie where John Travolta has nukes to a movie where Nicolas Cage has nukes.
They need to stop giving these actors nukes. They're too powerful.
We're definitely, the next movie we're doing definitely doesn't have nukes in it. Yeah. And then we get this scene.
Probably the greatest Nick Cage introduction ever.
Every time I hear this song, I always think of this scene. It's just because I don't remember the exact name of it, but I just call it Hallelujah.
Yeah.
You get Nicolas Cage dressed as a priest, just doing this ridiculous dance while this choir is like...
They're just singing Hallelujah right in front of where he's setting up the nuke. And then he goes into the choir. He starts like whispering to him and gropes her. It makes just the strangest face. Even for Nick Cage.
Yeah, you're just like, oh my god.
In fact, if you look up Nick Cage face-off, that's the first image. The very first image that shows up on Google Images.
Yeah. Oh my god. I don't know how to comment on it. That's the thing. It's just one of those faces, like... that's definitely one of those scenes that's like... like, you can see why, like, the internet is, why there's so many memes about Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. And so many memes from this one movie, too.
Yeah. There's a lot of great lines in this movie. So, Castor Troy, Nicolas Cage's character, he has a brother named Pollux. And you get a slow motion shot of him getting out of a car.
Yep, for no real reason. He's already been introduced. I don't know why we needed the slow-mo in that scene.
It's like we're getting 2 introduction scenes for him. Like, you literally could have...
Well, we're getting 3, because we also had the intro scene where he shoots Archer's kid.
Yeah. And one thing, his jacket is so long.
It's like a cape that's behind him.
He's like flapping in the wind like a cape or something. It's like he literally sees himself as a supervillain or something. And not only that, he has 2 gold guns.
Yeah, that's right, he does.
And he has like these sunglasses that make him look a little like John Lennon too. I mean,
yeah.
Can you make a villain look cooler than this? I mean, it's so ridiculous just how like...
It is amazing how well Nick Cage pulled off that look, though.
It's such a Nicolas Cage look. I mean, it's the same with Con Air. I mean,
yeah.
And then there's like one line he like says to his brother, and stay away from downtown on the 18th. It's gonna be a little smoggy.
Smog.
Yeah. Nukes, of course. And we get a very uncomfortable scene of him on the plane hitting on this woman. We get a great line. He says, I can eat a peach for hours.
I can eat a peach for hours.
And they start French kissing. Oh, it's so fucking gross.
There was another weird quote. Hold on.
There's a lot of quotes. I can't write them all down. I mean...
Because it's when he's talking to that flight attendant, and he's like, if I were to send you flowers, where would I... No, let me rephrase that. If I were to let you suck my tongue, would you be grateful? Just a complete 180 in the sentence.
Basically just trying to show this guy is a fucking freak. He's like, I feel like this movie would be Nicolas Cage's audition tape for the Joker.
Yeah, I can see that.
Or Lex Luthor, or some kind of like super villain.
Yeah.
John Travolta and the other agents, they're on the runway as the plane is about to take off, and it turns out Cage was making out with an FBI agent. And then he just shoots her and throws her off the plane.
And gives the most nonchalant shrug as he does so. Like, he turns around, looks the other agents dead in the eye, and just shrugs at him.
Yeah, that part was... He looked kind of like Ed O'Neill when he did that. It's like he was trying to do his best, like Al Bundy right there.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, it was so funny. We get a crazy chase scene where Travolta's using a helicopter to stop the plane from taking off. And Cage shoots the pilot when the engine stops, because again, he's a psycho. Like, oh, the pilot's like, oh, the engine went out, and then he just kills him. I mean, okay. Jesus Christ. And the plane crashes in a warehouse. And all this stuff with Cage on a plane, it just kept making me think of Con Air, you know?
Yeah. We need to stop putting that man on airplanes.
Stopping him. Yeah, he didn't learn his lesson. He didn't learn his lesson because then he left behind later.
We really gotta hope that he and Tom Hanks never get on a plane together.
Is that the version of Castaway where Nicolas Cage plays Wilson?
It's the Con Air version of Nicolas Cage that's on that island in Castaway.
And Cage, he pulls out his 2 golden guns and we get a shootout. The choreography and like just stunt work here is just insane. They're just flipping around
nuts.
and stuff, and like,
my favorite part is when John Travolta's character just feels the need to run up on top of the police car and start shooting downwards at Nick Cage.
yeah. There's like tons of slow-mo. You know, John Woo loves slow-mo. And Nicolas Cage, he hides in the dark warehouse. They have a standoff.
The first of many.
Yeah. Where they're both taunting each other. And Nicolas Cage says that Travolta should join his terrorist group since it's more fun. And we get a great exchange.
Shut the fuck up. You watch your fucking mouth!
It's great. We get this weird moment where Cage almost sounds like a dog. Like right before he's shooting John Travolta, but then he realizes he's run out of bullets.
Oh, yeah.
That noise he made was very strange. But anyway, and then he's like reaching for his knife. We get another great line, yeah.
Well, I think you better pull the trigger, because I don't give a fuck. I'm ready. Ready for the big ride, baby!
I tried looking it up to see what song it was. Apparently, it's not a real song.
Really?
I guess
That
it's
does
just some
surprise me.
shit that
So
Nicolas
that
Cage,
Nick Cage made up on the spot.
I guess Nicolas Cage just made it up for the movie or something.
Wow.
But then the engine turns on, it launches him into a grate really far away, knocking him out.
And it basically puts him into a coma.
Yeah. And meanwhile, John Travolta is having family trouble at home.
Because why wouldn't he?
I mean, he is an FBI agent. I would expect he's not exactly home all the time.
And so here we basically find out that his wife's just frustrated that he's never there, and that his daughter's going through like a million different phases at the same time.
Yep. And I was also noticing John Travolta's hair looks a little gray in this movie.
It kind of does, yeah.
Yeah, I guess he's the seasoned FBI agent. And meanwhile, at the FBI headquarters, he's given a standing ovation by his colleagues.
And he's an asshole about it,
She's
too,
not impressed
afterwards.
by it at all. Yeah, he's a very gloomy guy. He like holds up
And the sea.
a wine bottle that they gave him and dedicates it to all the agents that died.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, what were you saying?
I was gonna say they got that like bottle of champagne from the CIA, and he tells them to send it back at first.
Yeah. I mean, at least he finally caught the guy that killed his son, so there's that.
Yeah, but there's still a problem because they don't know where the bomb is.
Yeah. There's a ton of
definitely
Tom
some-
Lehrer songs I could reference right now, but I'm not going to. Special Ops wanted to talk to him, and this is where he meets CCH Pounder, who gives him a floppy disk.
And this is basically where they reveal we can remove your face, put Castor Troy's replace your face with Castor Troy's, and then send you to the prison to talk to his brother and find out where the bomb is.
Yeah, because he's going to use the bomb to destroy LA, basically.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Remember that one movie? I'd rather we not. But yeah, we're starting to get some sci-fi elements here, and what's interesting is this movie actually was originally going to be more sci-fi themed, and it was actually set in the future of 2025.
Oh wow!
There were like
We're
going to
still
be
3 years off.
holograms, flying cars, just all that. But they ended up ditching all of that.
That's probably for the best.
But yeah, it turns out Castor Troy is still alive. And they basically show him how they recreated a guy's ear after it was damaged. And yeah, their plan is to perform a surgery so that Archer will have Castor Troy's face and he can talk to his brother who is in prison. Like as a disguise, basically.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, do they do stuff like this in the Church of Scientology? Because if so, John Travolta would not find this too out of the ordinary. But anyway, he's like told that he can't tell anyone about the plan, so
Yeah.
it's like, which obviously he has to think about it for a bit because he realized how much danger he'll be putting his family in. But I guess he decides to go through with it. And even some of the doctors don't want him to go through with it, I noticed. Like, one of them, mentions to him he's afraid Archer is gonna turn into Troy.
Huh.
Which, yeah. But anyway, but they do the surgery, they switch John Travolta's face with Nicolas Cage's face. And this scene is really gross. So.
I forgot how graphic this movie actually gets with all the surgery scenes.
Yeah, because you see them taking the faces off. It does cut away a little bit, but they do show enough where you're just like, oh god. It was reminding me of Eyes Without a Face or something.
Yeah.
And they also cut his hair to look like Troy, which, as implausible as this plot seems, they do treat it in a somewhat realistic way.
Yeah, they're trying to say it probably can never happen, but they'd have to do this, this, and this.
Although I have to ask, how did they get their eyes to look like each other?
I have no idea.
Because that was the only thing I was thinking. How do their eyes look? But anyway. Contact lenses? I don't know. But yeah, he wakes up, looks in the mirror, and he's Nicolas Cage.
And he has a very appropriate Nicolas Cage freakout.
Yeah, because he's wearing his enemy's face. I mean... And yeah, he breaks the mirror, he shouts, "Fuck you," over and over.
Yeah.
And it's weird hearing John Travolta's voice coming out of Cage's body.
That is super weird. Like, I didn't notice it, I think, the first time I watched it, but then, like, watching it again, I was like, oh, that feels wrong.
He says, when this is over, take this face and burn it. And then they use a voice calibration device to make his voice sound like Castor Troy. Which, that's another thing. I bet that hurts like a son of a bitch.
It has to. Like, none of this could be comfortable.
Like, I mean, he mentions his face. They mention that his face itches, but like, I'm like thinking, like, how much anesthesia did they put on that so it wouldn't hurt like hell? I mean,
plus, don't forget, he's about to go to prison for a while. He'll have no painkillers.
That is very true. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, they take him to the prison and put him in a prison disguised as Castor Troy. One of the guards is John Carroll Lynch. I remember him from Fargo and Zodiac. And they hook him up with the same boots they used in Super Mario Brothers the movie.
I know, I noticed that, and I was like, huh, those are very familiar looking boots.
Are they the same props from that movie?
I don't know. All I know is that they look really similar.
They really do, yeah. And apparently all the prisoners are wearing them.
Yeah. They're basically like magnetic boots that it can just lock people to the ground if they have to.
I guess it's just this really high-tech prison or something.
It is the same day prop. Or the same prop. Between movies.
I was about to say, I was like thinking, did they like reuse it maybe? Yes. But yeah.
Huh. I'm sorry, I just went down a rabbit hole because I found a thread of these. So the outfit that Bosk, one of the bounty hunters from Empire Strikes Back, was actually taken from an episode of Doctor Who.
Huh. Did they mention that the Killer Clown's costumes were reused in Ernest Scared Stupid on there?
Oh, that's right.
But yeah, Castor Troy's brother is happy to see who he thinks is his brother. And then Cage has an altercation with one of the prisoners. Which I was thinking during this scene, like, gosh, imagine getting kicked with those huge magnetic boots. I mean,
yeah, no, that would suck.
And we get another really funny Nicolas Cage face right here.
Yeah, when he starts going a little crazy and is like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of this dude.
Yeah, because it's John Travolta pretending to be Nicolas Cage, so he realizes he has to like look totally out of his mind. And then he's like beating the shit out of this guy, and then he starts chanting, "I'm Castor Troy," over and over again. And I noticed there's this like brief lapse where he almost cries.
Yeah.
Because I guess it's just, again, John Travolta's character realizing this is the situation I'm in now.
Yeah, I have to pretend to be my mortal enemy and even wear his skin to do so.
Well, just his face, you know. But
yeah.
And then he just, right after, like, having that little lapse, he immediately goes back to acting crazy again.
Yeah, yeah.
But then, the real Castor Troy wakes up.
And this is a super creepy scene.
Yeah, he has like bandages on his face. It kind of makes him look like the Invisible Man.
Yeah.
And he starts removing the bandages, and he is horrified at what he finds.
I mean, fair.
Because he has no face. Where did his face go?
He makes these weird screams, too, as he does it.
Yeah, he's like moaning and stuff. Yeah, it's kind of a disturbing scene.
It really is.
And also, is it just me, or is the removed face of John Travolta a little similar looking to Sylvester Stallone's face?
Yeah, I could see that.
I was like looking at that, I was like, that doesn't really look like John Travolta's face. It looks more like Stallone, which he was one of the original casting choices, actually.
Yeah.
Was Sylvester Stallone. It was supposed to be an Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone vehicle.
That would have been a much different movie.
It would have, yeah. And that was when it was supposed to be more sci-fi themed.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
It probably would have felt more like Total Recall then, if that's the case.
Yeah.
Or Judge Dredd. I am the law.
About to say the Running Man could also be thrown in there.
The Running Man, yep. This is Sub-Zero. Now, Plane Zero.
Plane Zero!
But yeah, Castor Troy calls some of his buddies on the phone. So, wait a minute. Okay, I have a few questions here. Did these doctors just abandon him unguarded?
That's actually a really good point.
You have probably the most dangerous terrorist in the world, and nobody is watching him. Just in case he might wake up from his coma.
I don't even think they had like any doors locked or anything. He just got up and walked to the nearest phone.
And another thing, couldn't they have, like, I don't know, given him some better sleeping pills so that he wouldn't wake up and have this happen?
At the very least, they could have left him with like one guard.
Exactly, yeah. It seems like, yeah, everything was just left unlocked, just, you know. But yeah, he ends up calling in the doctor to basically put his face, well, to put John Travolta's face on his face.
And within the reflection of the doctor's glasses, you actually see what Nick Cage's face looks like right now.
Yeah, it's fucking gross. It's really
gross. It would have been interesting to see like that makeup and stuff, like from face on, like when it was actually applied. But I feel like it's kind of creepier seeing it kind of just
he's
out
like
of view
smoking
most
a
of the shots.
cigarette while his face is all like with his removed face. I mean, like, oh my god.
That's probably not the smartest idea.
No. Well, I mean, he is insane though, so
Yeah.
Although he was smart enough to take painkillers, so
Yeah.
You know. Because I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, Christ. So, meanwhile, the fake Castor Troy, I'm not sure how to refer to them from here on out.
It's really confusing. So, Sean Archer is currently the guy in Nick Cage's body, and Castor Troy is currently the guy in John Travolta's body.
He's the guy with Nicolas Cage's face.
Oh, with Nick Cage's face and John Travolta's body, that's right.
and John Travolta, sorry, Nicolas Cage has John Travolta's face.
Yeah.
But either way, the fake Castor Troy, he's talking to Troy's brother, and Pollux asks if he had shock treatment or a surgery or something, because he's just acting really weird.
And then this is also the scene where we find out that Pollux is apparently severely paranoid of everything, which does make sense later on.
And there's also a deleted scene, which I'll talk about later. It's like an extended version of this scene that includes a little more backstory, but anyway. I also noticed Nicolas Cage says, "Ain't it cool?" here.
Oh, yeah.
So that's 2 movies in a row we've watched where John Travolta's character says, "Ain't it cool?"
Ain't it cool?
Because he's technically John Travolta's character here.
Yeah.
He's just played by Nicolas Cage. Yeah, ain't it cool? And he says the bomb deserves an audience because it's a work of art that belongs in the Louvre.
Belongs in the Louvre.
And this is where his brother reveals that, well, not his brother, the bomb's in the LA Convention Center.
Yep.
So now he knows where the bomb is. But then it turns out he has a visitor. And that visitor is himself.
Castor Troy.
But not himself. Because Castor Troy now has Sean Archer's face. And we get just an incredible scene
It's probably the best scene in the movie.
Because you have John Travolta acting like Nicolas Cage, while Nicolas Cage is acting like John Travolta. And you get some really amazing lines here. You got,
Wait, you good looking. You're hot. It's like looking in a mirror, only not.
and this is where Castor Troy, he reveals he burned down the hospital and killed all the doctors. Just poured a bunch of, like, gasoline on them, I guess. And lit
Yeah,
them on fire. As again, he's a psycho. So now, and this means there's no way to switch their faces back.
Yeah.
That is a nightmare scenario right there. Your worst enemy stole your face. And you're wearing your worst enemy's face.
And he ends up taunting him a lot after explaining that he killed the doctors, and he's like,
Okay, so, wow. Looks like you're gonna be in here for the next 100 years.
It's so funny. He's like almost turning into like Ace Ventura in this scene.
he's so insane in this movie.
John Travolta playing Nicolas Cage. I mean, yeah, it's a sight to see, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He keeps taunting him. He says he's gonna go home and fuck his wife, because of course. And then the fake Castor Troy tries choking the fake Sean Archer and says, the way he says die in this movie is very unusual. He does it again later, too.
Yeah,
And the guards subdue him. And the fake Archer goes home and sees Archer's wife. And he's acting really flirty in this scene.
Yeah, and so his wife is very suspicious of that.
When she's like walking away, he says, I hate to see you go, but I love to watch you leave. And then he finds Archer's diary in a drawer and reads it. And calls him a loser since they haven't fucked in 2 months.
Yeah.
And then we get another uncomfortable scene.
Oh, it's so uncomfortable.
He goes and acts really pervy around Archer's daughter, who's just in her panties, just on the phone.
There is that one line, though, when he first opens the door to the daughter's room and he just goes, the plot thickens.
The plot thickens, yeah. Gosh, he acts so perverted around her, and it's so weird to watch.
It's so weird.
He takes a cigarette, he lights it, which confuses her since apparently
he doesn't smoke.
And then he says now he does, and then he says Papa's got a brand new bag.
A brand new bag.
Because that's the song playing in the background, the James Brown song. Papa's got a brand new bag. Oh, it's... Again, just a nightmare scenario right here. Your worst enemy not only stole your face, he's also hanging out with your family and acting really creepy.
It's so uncomfortable.
And then we cut back to fake Troy in prison. And it turns out Troy's brother, Pollux, was released from prison by the fake Sean Archer. And Pollux, he's just living it up, having a good meal in the interrogation room. And come to think of it, Troy's brother also kind of looks like John Lennon with those glasses.
Yeah, a little bit.
And you get this one exchange, which I thought was kind of funny, where John Travolta is talking to, to Pollux, and again, I'm not sure how to refer to them from here on out. Do I refer to them as Nicolas Cage and John Travolta? John Travolta playing Nicolas Cage, he says to Pollux, "You're not the only one in the family with brains." And then Pollux says, But now I'm the only one in the family with the looks.
And so this was actually something that I thought was kind of clever. So earlier when they mentioned that Pollux is severely paranoid and has to take medication for it, I feel like that's why it's so easy for him to believe that it's actually Castor that has Sean Archer's face in that moment.
And also just
Because he's like,
Nicolas Cage, he doesn't really act like Nicolas
Not
Cage
really.
in the prison
Not really.
scenes, except when he beats the shit out of one guy. And we get again John Travolta imitating Nicolas Cage. He finds the bomb and disarms it right before it goes off.
Yeah, there's like what, 2 seconds left?
Something I don't remember. And he does a little dance and sings Hallelujah a bit, which again, like Castor Troy was doing at the beginning of the movie. I have to say, I really enjoyed Travolta's Nicolas Cage impression.
It's honestly really fun to watch.
It's so funny. Just like... And after this, they basically dispose of the whole bomb plot.
Yeah, no, it's no longer important. The only thing that matters now is Nick Cage and John Travolta.
Yep. They've switched faces, they've switched lives. What the hell is gonna happen? I have to wonder, though, the people that went to see this in the theater, how many of them knew that the title was literal?
This would have been amazing to see with, like, no warning or no idea what the movie was.
Because I watched the trailer, and they kind of give a little bit of a hint toward, like, you have John Travolta, like, the beginning of the trailer is John Travolta giving this monologue in, like, a shadowy room. The camera rotates around his shoulder, and he comes back as Nicolas Cage. But they don't really specify, like, how he's gonna turn himself into Nicolas Cage, so...
I've actually never seen this trailer before.
I guess John Travolta is a supernatural being that can shapeshift. Or wait, maybe that's just something they can do in Scientology. I don't know. And then we get another funny scene.
Where Troy, disguised as Archer, is giving an interview on the news. And they basically ask him if he wants to reveal anything about the people that are behind it.
Yeah, he says, I just got this to say to them. Interception. Now our side's got the ball. Sorry. That moment definitely felt like he was turning into Ace Ventura or something.
Yeah, no, it's a very Jim Carrey way of delivering that line.
I was noticing quite a bit of John Travolta's performance of him imitating Nicolas Cage kind of seemed like Jim Carrey or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, now the fake Sean Archer is a big hero, you know, because he defused the bomb. And
yeah.
He says he's apologizing for all the years he was an insufferable bore to his colleagues. And this moment, he almost turned into Patrick Bateman. And he grabs a woman's ass, because again, he's Castor Troy, he's a pervert.
Yeah.
You know. And then he has a nice romantic dinner with his wife.
With the other guy's wife.
The other guy's wife, yeah. Which I was noticing. I find it terrifying that Castor Troy makes a better Sean Archer than the actual Sean Archer.
He's a better husband, and later, as we find out, he's technically a better father at points, too.
A better FBI agent, too. So I guess Nicolas Cage makes a better John Travolta than John Travolta? Or is it the other way around? John Travolta makes a better Nicolas Cage than Nicolas Cage? I don't know. The real Sean Archer / the fake Castor Troy is in prison. And he's obviously desperate to escape from prison. I mean, why wouldn't he be? Under these circumstances? I mean, Jesus Christ. And apparently they can only get the magnetic boots off after being put in the electric chair.
And so he ends up devising a plan where he assaults a guard in order to get put into the shock chamber.
Yeah, he beats up a guard saying he wants his cigarettes. And he gets carried away by the guards while holding up the cigarette and yelling, "Anybody got a light?"
As the entire mess hall cheers him on.
God, it's so funny. Because again, they still think he's Castor Troy. And they strap him to the chair and take his boots off. I like how he asks them to light the cigarette, and one of the guards says, "You know, those things will kill you." Well, he's in a fucking electric chair. I mean... But anyway, the guy that he got in a fight with earlier helps him escape. And there's a big shootout.
It's honestly a crazy prison riot scene.
It is, yeah.
Stuff just kind of starts exploding at one point, too. I don't even know if there's a reason why.
Yep. And he tries to save that one guy from falling, but he dies. It's too bad. You also hear the Howie scream.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So that's 2 movies we've done in a row that starred John Travolta, directed by John Woo, and had that scream in it. And then fake Castor Troy gets out of the landing dock and realizes he's stuck out in the middle of the ocean. Apparently he's on this prison ship. And then you see a helicopter and it starts shooting at him. His boots get lit on fire.
So he ends up basically pulling off the boots and the socks before.
He just jumps barefoot into the water.
Yeah.
And I was watching some of the special features for it. Apparently, originally there was going to be a huge helicopter chase here.
Huh.
But they cut it for budgetary reasons.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
And apparently Nicolas Cage has a fear of heights, so he said the scene was really terrifying for him to shoot.
Yeah, that would kind of suck having to jump off that platform.
Yeah. I'm afraid of heights too, so I would not enjoy that. Especially jumping into water as well. I mean, jeez.
Yeah.
And then you see the fake archer. I'm not sure how to refer to John Travolta playing Nicolas Cage playing John
I think fake Archer works pretty well in this case.
I knew that was going to be confusing while recapping this.
I was thinking about that earlier. I'm like, we can't really call them by the actors' names because that's going to get confusing after like 20 minutes.
But anyway, the fake archer takes his wife to the grave of their son, which, okay, that's an uncomfortable scene right there,
Yeah.
because, as we've established earlier, he was the murderer of this guy's son, so...
Yeah. And he does kind of look uncomfortable during this scene as well.
Yeah, that makes this scene incredibly fucked up. And also really sad, too. I mean,
Yeah.
this is another one of those scenes that I was like, this is a way more depressing movie than I realized, I guess. And then right after this, he finds out that the fake Castor Troy is dead. Except the body hasn't been recovered yet.
Yep.
And his delivery of it hasn't been recovered yet? I thought his delivery there was funny. So then the fake Castor Troy / the real Sean Archer makes his way to the city.
Which, that's very impressive.
Maybe we should just call them the real Sean Archer and the fake Sean Archer. Maybe that would make this a little more... I don't know how to refer to... But yeah, he makes his way to the city and tries calling his wife, who she works at a hospital.
And she ends up not recognizing him because it's Castor's voice.
Yeah, it ends up frightening her. And then he calls the fake Sean Archer, basically telling him he's there. guess it's the "I'm still alive, motherfucker" moment in this movie. And then the fake Troy shows up at the house of Nick Cassavetes.
For one of the weirdest scenes in the movie.
I guess it's just he doesn't know where else to go, so he's gonna go find his rival's goons.
Yeah.
And his goons are really happy to see who they think is Castor Troy.
But it's really the guy that's been trying to arrest them for years.
And they ask what he wants to do, and he basically enlists them to get the fake Sean Archer. Also, I thought it was funny how they ask him how he knows so much about Sean Archer. And he says,
Yeah.
it's because I've been sleeping with his wife. And then they just start laughing. And these laughs, you get some really great laughs here, especially from Nicolas Cage. Then they ask what he wants to do. And he says, "I'd like to take his face off."
And he does this thing with his hand where he covers his face with the hand and then pulls it away.
Yeah. And Nick Cassavetes, he imitates it as well.
Yeah, they do this 3 or 4 times where they just go face off.
And again, it's it's title drop,
Several title drops in a row, actually.
His face off. Eyes, nose, skin. It's coming off.
The face off.
And then Cage just goes to a room to pass out, and Nick Cassavetes says, "No more drugs for that man." Because, what do you really say to that? Even for Castor Troy, that's a crazy thing to say. And they don't really know what he means. They just think he's just some psycho who wants to
He's just gonna cut his face off.
I guess he's just gonna pull a Buffalo Bill and just fashion I don't know. And then you get Cage having a weird drug freak out.
Yeah.
He's looking at himself in the mirror where he does some more funny facial expressions. And then he turns around and sees Gina Gershon.
A spurned lover of Castor Troy's.
Although we cut away to a scene with the fake Sean Archer beating the shit out of a guy that was harassing his daughter.
And this is the scene where it's he might be a better father than the actual Sean Archer.
Although he does have one line that really makes him sound like a dick, because he says to her, "Dress up like Halloween and ghouls will try to get in your pants." So that is not a line you want to use on your daughter. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, not really.
Don't say
and
that.
He ends up giving her a butterfly knife, saying you stab it into the guy's leg and then twist it so the wound doesn't close.
Yeah.
Which, weirdly, comes back later.
It does, yeah. He's also better at comforting her, too, because he's, also saying, you haven't been the same since Mike died, so,
Yeah.
brother, Although still, the ghouls line, it's a funny line, though, to be fair, but it is. Again, it's just not something you want to say to your daughter. Then again, she's not his daughter, she's the daughter of his friend.
Yeah.
Again, this is going to get so confusing. So then we have the fake Castor Troy / the real Sean Archer. He has a scene with Gina Gershon, and it's turbulent, to say the least.
Yeah.
And it turns out Castor Troy has a son.
Which causes another freak out from Archer, from the real Archer.
Yeah, because he thinks that their son looks like Sean
Mike.
Archer's son who was killed. He's saying his name, and he's trying to apologize for what he did, for what the real Castor Troy did to her, basically. Well, he's disguised as Castor Troy.
And it almost feels like he's trying to fix Troy's life a little bit here.
Yeah. I don't really know how bad, though, to feel for a person who fell in love with a terrorist.
Yeah.
And who is also a terrorist herself, but they do a good job at drawing some sympathy here. So,
Yeah.
You know, there's that. And then we get another crazy shootout.
Where the fake Sean Archer ends up raiding like the apartment where the fake Castor Troy is hiding out.
Troy's son, he puts on some headphones and we hear Somewhere Over the Rainbow playing.
During a massive firefight.
And apparently it's a version by Olivia Newton-John, who was John Travolta's co-star in Grease and Two of a Kind, so
yeah,
that was probably done deliberately.
Yeah.
But it's just weird hearing this song playing over parts of the shootout. It gives it this really bizarre tone.
It is super weird.
And there's just this little kid just wandering around in gunfire. Like, this kid survives some really heavy gunfire despite standing right out there in the open. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh my. I also like how the fake Castor Troy / the real Sean Archer sees one of his own men at one point, and instead of killing him, he knocks him out and pretends to kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a nice little detail right there, you know.
It is.
Because he's still technically an FBI agent, he's just undercover, so...
Yeah, he doesn't want to have to kill his own agents.
On the other hand, the real Castor Troy / the fake Sean Archer does not. He just shoots his own men because he's a bastard, I guess. And that's another thing. You're having a terrorist leading an FBI raid.
Very effectively, too.
He's, like, using terrorist methods to, like...
Yeah.
Fight some... oh my gosh, it's... And then these two are finally face to face again.
And it's a pretty good shootout between the two.
Yeah, you get the fake Sean Archer who wants to, like, trade back, and then they're standing in front of a mirror, which... that makes this a very interesting moment.
Yeah, because they turn around, and even though they're looking in a mirror, they both see the face of their mortal enemy.
Yeah, it's not very subtle symbolism, but it works.
Oh, it's not subtle, but it's pretty cool.
And this is also where Castor Troy's brother ends up dying.
Yep. Giving Troy even more reason to hate Archer.
Yeah, and one FBI agent is confused why the fake Sean Archer is crying over this.
And so fake Archer just shoots him.
He just shoots him, yeah. And after this, the fake Sean Archer has been made Time's Man of the Year. An FBI agent making Time's Man of the Year. I mean, when the hell's the last time that would have happened? Like, and then the fake Castor Troy / the real Sean Archer has found his home.
And he tries to tell his wife that he's actually Sean Archer.
Freaks out because this strange guy is just wandering around in their house.
Not just a strange guy, a known terrorist.
Yeah, the most famous terrorist in the world, I guess. And he tries to convince her he's Sean Archer, which there's some really good acting from Nicolas Cage here.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like veering from being really sad to almost having just a total breakdown. That was, again, another one of those moments where I was like, this is actually a really sad movie when you think about it.
Yeah, it's got a lot of really emotional moments throughout, which you wouldn't expect from a movie about John Travolta and Nick Cage switching faces.
And he tells her they're two blood types, so that she can, like, test them out in the hospital, you know, since she works at a hospital.
Yeah.
You get the fake Sean Archer / the real Castor Troy coming home, and he reveals he read her diary, while he's trying to be affectionate with her. This is another emotional scene too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then while he's sleeping, she gets some of his blood and goes to the hospital to test it since she's a doctor.
And she ends up confirming the blood type differences.
Wait. Okay, so she works at a hospital, and John Travolta works as an FBI agent. So two people with two of the most stressful jobs ever got
that's
married
a good
to
point.
each other.
Yeah, no, that's just asking for a disastrous marriage.
Yeah, I'm like,
No wonder that daughter hates him.
no wonder they don't see each other that much, too. I mean, Jesus Christ. But here she finds out the truth, and apparently Nicolas Cage was already there at the hospital.
Yeah.
Because plot convenience. Nicolas Cage, he shares a scene with Gina Gershon, says, "Whatever happens, Sean Archer is off your back for good." I guess he's just gonna let her get away. Even though she's a terrorist, but okay. And then Cage walks on the beach in slow motion with pigeons flying around.
Gotta get those pigeons in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's such a John Woo moment. Right? And after the funeral, you get a really weird scene where John Travolta does a little religious chant and pulls a Jesus Christ pose. Like he's on the cross. Which John Travolta, being a Scientologist, makes that hilarious right there.
Yeah.
And they have another standoff. Gina Gershon shows up and hands Nicolas Cage another gun. You get more of John Travolta acting and sounding like Jim Carrey in this scene. And you get lots of gunfire, just... It's ridiculous. I mean, how do you describe it? Like, just...
It's so stupid and over the top.
The action scenes are super over the top. Like, all of them. I mean, just the editing and, like, everybody's just flying everywhere. Things are just getting... Oh, my... And this is in a church, too.
Yeah.
This is all happening in a church. Oh, man. It's like a few steps away from becoming that scene in The Kingsman. That fight in the church, yeah.
Yeah.
Gina Gershon dies in the gunfire. And she asks Cage to not let their son grow up to be like them.
Definitely a good choice there.
Good advice right there. Son, whatever you do not grow up to become a terrorist.
And so Jamie, the real Sean Archer's daughter, ends up joining the firefight at one point.
Yeah, and this scene was weird because she's holding a gun to, like, both of them, and they're, like, trying to convince her, don't shoot me. I'm the real Sean Archer. Don't shoot, just... And Nicolas Cage, he uses John Travolta's voice so that she won't shoot him.
Yeah. And
then John Travolta licks her.
Yeah, and then that's when the whole butterfly knife thing comes back. So she takes it out and stabs him in the leg and turns the blade so the wound won't close.
And she's just confused by all this. I would imagine she probably... I feel like every character in this movie had to have therapy after this.
Heavy therapy. Especially Archer.
Exactly, yeah.
How do you even explain that to a therapist?
So, what caused all the problems? Well, you see, my mortal enemy, he was in a coma, so we had to take his face.
And then they took off my face and put his face on me. But then he took my face.
You would literally sound like... I feel like the therapist would just be like, get the fuck out of my office. Like, you're going to an insane asylum or something. And then we get a boat chase.
An insane boat chase.
An insanely long boat chase. Which that is one thing about this movie. It goes on really long.
Yeah.
I forgot how long this movie was. Like, I knew it was 2 hours. I didn't realize it was like 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know why. I thought it was going to be like an hour and a half long movie.
Well, you got a lot of plot to get through. So.
Yeah.
And there are so many explosions going on during this boat chase. It is absurd. The boat crashes through another boat at one point, just like jumps up through another boat.
It's so nuts.
And then finally, Nicolas Cage catches up to John Travolta, and they have a fight on the boat. At one point, Cage gets dragged through the water. And then finally the boat crashes. It's also obvious when they're flying through the air that they're using stunt doubles.
Yeah, yeah.
They do not look like John Travolta and Nicolas Cage.
Not at all.
And then they have a fight on the beach.
Which ends with the real Sean Archer holding up a spear gun to Castor Troy.
And then Travolta says, every time you look in the mirror, you'll see my face. That honestly sounds like something the Joker would say.
Yeah.
And he cuts his face up, like a psychopath. And
yeah, because he's trying to ruin the face so that he can't take it back.
yeah. And then Cage shoots him with the gun and yells, "Die!" His delivery there is so weird. It's so unusual.
Yeah.
And then as Travolta dies, he sings Ready for the Big Ride, Baby. Just again, because to remind you that I'm Castor Troy. Oh my god. What a stressful,
week or however long
it is
it's
so
been.
stressful being an FBI agent if this is the kind of shit that happens.
And so some doctors from Washington, D.C. are able to replicate the surgery and put John Travolta's face back onto his body.
And the ending is weird because it is so jarring seeing John Travolta come home.
It really is, after watching him die earlier.
For most of this movie, you've been rooting for Nicolas Cage, too. So.
It's so weird. And then we get a minor plot twist where it turns out he decided to adopt Nick Cage's kid.
Yeah.
Presumably without asking his wife.
Yeah, that's true. You're just adopting a terrorist's kid. And they're just fine with this? Okay.
Apparently.
You could put him in an adoption, agency. I don't know. But yeah. So I guess Castor Troy's son is now going to be raised by them.
Apparently. And then that's just how the movie ends.
That's
it's done.
The end of the movie. Okay. This is a very interesting movie.
It is a strange movie.
It kind of oscillates between being a really over-the-top action movie and then having some actual human interest as well.
Yeah.
I gotta give the actors a lot of credit for mimicking each other's characters.
Especially Travolta.
It's Travolta, yeah.
He was able to pull off a pretty good Nick Cage performance.
He honestly ends up stealing the show for a lot of it, which is saying quite a bit because of, this, again, Nicolas Cage's moments, just because I don't give a fuck. Because usually when I think of this movie, the scenes I think of, one of them is the scene when they first meet each other with their new faces.
That's the first scene that always pops in my head when I think about this movie.
Because John Travolta's performance in that scene is so funny. That and usually the scene where he's like, I'm gonna take his face off. Those are the two scenes that usually stick out with me.
Then I think I'd add on to that the mirror shot.
The mirror shot where they sort of rip off Duck Soup right there. Oh, that would make this a very different movie, having the Marx Brothers in it. Groucho imitating Harpo and Harpo imitating Groucho. Which is kind of what they're doing in that scene, because they're all dressing up as Groucho and pretending that there's a mirror there. But anyway, this movie, there's also a lot of personality and texture to this movie. This is not a forgettable movie for sure. It's a very... while watching it, I was just remembering just how memorable so many scenes from this movie are, and how many memorable lines.
Like, if I'm honest, this is probably one of my favorite 90s action movies out there.
It is definitely, it might be, actually. Just because the plot is so wild.
And, like, it's never really been done again, is the crazier thing.
And it's also done well, too.
Yeah.
Like, the cast is great. The script has a really good balance between entertainment and actual substance. Yeah. Like, the scenes between Joan Allen and John Travolta and Nicolas Cage, just like... they work very well, because you're just like... The terrorist is now hanging out with the wife of, his mortal enemy. While pretending to be his mortal enemy, there's just so many weird, like, layers and dualities to it that make it very engaging to watch.
It feels like a weirdly believable movie. Because, like, at no point are you really like, this is too dumb. You're like, okay, this is dumb, but, like, the plot makes sense. It flows.
During the action scenes, it does kind of reach a few moments where you're like,
oh yeah, during the action scenes, it gets a little crazy, but, like, for the most part, it's so solid.
Which, yeah, the action scenes are very good, too. They're over the top in a good way.
Yeah. It's not like surfing on the wave through downtown LA.
Exactly, yeah. Or stuff from, like, the Roger Moore Bond movies, the car chases in some of those movies just push it too far for me. And also, there's lots of fun dialogue, too.
Yeah.
There were some lines I forgot about, like, in this. Like, I could eat a peach for hours.
I could eat a peach for hours.
I don't exactly know what that means, but it definitely sounds like something a crazy terrorist played by Nicolas Cage would say. So.
Yeah.
And I think this might be my favorite Nicolas Cage movie, actually.
I think so, too.
As well as my favorite John Travolta movie.
Yeah.
As well as my favorite movie with Nicolas Cage playing John Travolta. And John Travolta playing Nicolas Cage. Because, again, you just don't see this very often,
Yeah. The weird thing is, there's only 2 movies I can think of off the top of my head that have a somewhat similar plot. The first one's Freaky Friday.
There's a lot of movies with that variation, yeah.
Yeah. And then, even though it's, like, somewhat
versa,
distant, that Gemini Man movie. Just because you have 2 Will Smiths interacting with each other.
I have not seen that.
Neither have I, but the concept's interesting.
I heard it was kind of crap, but...
Yeah, that's what I heard, too.
It's a weird premise for an action movie.
It really is.
Because you compare this to Con Air, and you compare this to Broken Arrow. Those have pretty standard 90s action movie plots.
They feel like generic action movies, yeah.
They just have enough personality and, like...
that they can get on by and
colorful
be
characters
a little above
that they
average.
can get away with, like, not having as much substance. Whereas this, they actually... included a lot of, like, substance and, like, just the premise. I mean, this is not a premise that you're gonna forget anytime soon. seeing Nicolas Cage playing John Travolta and John Travolta playing Nicolas Cage.
It's just a wild experience.
Yeah, it's and really wild the recap too. I mean, good
Yeah.
lord. I think we can get to the trivia.
I
So I actually on the DVD I have of this movie, there are 7 deleted scenes.
okay.
And I kind of don't blame them for cutting some of this from the movie because a lot of it, well, for one, it's already a long movie.
Yeah.
Like, imagine Face Off as a 3-hour movie. I mean, Christ. You know,
That'd be a little too much.
although I was surprised at how short a lot of these scenes were. And some of them are just extended versions of scenes that ended up in the movie.
Hmm.
One of them is during the beginning with Cage pretending to be a priest, you know. There's like one part where he kills a janitor by stabbing him in the neck.
Huh. I can see why that might have felt unnecessary.
Yeah, they cut it out because they thought it was too implausible. Because they're like, how would all these people not see that? I mean, it's...
Yeah.
You get this really sad scene where Travolta is in his dead son's room and he's crying and having flashbacks. He basically spends the night in his dead son's bedroom, which I gotta say, very good acting from John Travolta here.
Huh. Do you know what part of the movie that was supposed to be at?
I don't know. Probably towards the beginning, I'm gonna guess. I'm not sure exactly. But the writers, apparently, they were sad that this scene got cut out. Apparently, it was cut because people didn't want to see John Travolta cry on screen.
Huh. I might have to look up this scene for myself.
You get one of Cage talking to his brother in the prison.
So is it just like a longer...
It's an extended version of that one scene that was in the movie. And it kind of goes a little psychoanalytic here, like, because they talk about how when he was a kid, his dad put him in a dress, and their mother was a junkie that died.
What?
It's a very weird scene that kind of doesn't fit the movie. It feels more like some sort of explanation for Norman Bates' psychosis in Psycho.
Yeah, I can see why that was cut.
I guess Sigmund Freud helped write some of that. Charlie, get away from the recorder.
Was that your cat?
Yeah, it was my cat. Yep.
My cat's actually sitting on my desk right now.
I think it's because it's almost feeding time, so he's kind of bothering me about that. And apparently, also this scene was apparently ad-libbed.
Huh.
In fact, there's quite a lot of ad-libs. I might have written a few of them down, but yeah. You get more of the kid with the headphones, which this one really added nothing. It was just, again, an extended version of the scene, the shootout, and it just really nothing was lost here with them cutting that. You get an extended scene of Travolta and Cage fighting on the beach.
Because that scene needed to be longer.
It gets really excessive, too. Cage hits Travolta with a metal pipe and calls him a scum-sucking pig. Which I was wondering, is that a reference to the Marlon Brando movie One-Eyed Jacks? Or is it a reference to the Three Amigos? And also the way he screams, "Die!" in this scene is also a little different.
Really? Is it toned down?
A little bit. I think it might have been an alternate take or something. I'm not sure, but...
Huh.
And this was cut because they felt the fight went on too long. I mean, yes, it did.
Yeah.
Enough is enough. I mean, you get one, which is a short line that got cut, where Travolta's daughter asks her mother, "Will Dad ever be Dad again?" And there's an alternate ending.
I think I've heard about this alternate ending before.
You get a scene of John Travolta looking in the mirror and seeing Castor Troy's face in it as a hallucination. And then he hugs his wife, which apparently John Woo said he said he was trying to go for an Alfred Hitchcock ending.
Oh, so it was trying to be something where it was still Troy in his body?
Yeah, they ended up cutting it because it confused people. They weren't sure whether it was real or not.
Yeah, that's a weird last scene.
It ends it on kind of a weird note. This got 2 thumbs up from Siskel and Ebert.
That's impressive.
Yeah, Roger Ebert gave it 3 out of 4 stars, praising the premise and the actors. And Gene Siskel was even more praising of it,
Really?
giving it 3.5 out of 4 stars and calling it the best action movie of the summer.
Huh.
And highly praised the acting and the screenplay. What do you want to guess Leonard Maltin gave it?
I'm gonna go with a 3 out of 4. I think he's gonna have rated it the same as Batman Forever.
Same as Batman Forever, huh?
Yeah.
Correct. He gave it 3 out of 4
Let's
stars.
go.
Yep.
So is that 2 in a row that I've guessed correct?
I'll probably have to go back in editing and see. But he called it 2/3 of a terrific movie. Travolta and Cage are charismatically over the top, and Woo's staging of action scenes is powerfully good, but the film doesn't know when to stop.
Yeah, fair. I guess specifically thinking about the boat scene.
Silly plotting and dialogue might have been overlooked in a tighter film, but he did enjoy it, so there's that, He liked it just as much as Batman Forever. I mean, I can kind of see why, because Batman Forever has Jim Carrey in it, and Face Off has some scenes where John Travolta kind of turns into Jim Carrey.
That is very true.
I wonder what he gave Ace Ventura. Did he think Batman Forever was a better Jim Carrey movie than Ace Ventura? I hope not.
That is a good question.
Did he think Dumb and Dumber was a better Jim Carrey movie than Batman Forever? Was nominated for an Academy Award. Do you want to try and guess the category?
You
probably won't get it, but just
I'm just this is probably wrong, but I'll just go with Best Actor.
I wish, but for who? John Travolta or Nicolas?
Yeah, Travolta.
No, that's definitely not it. I wish though, man. Best sound effects editing.
Huh.
Which it lost to Titanic. Wait a minute, does that mean that Con Air had more Oscar nominations than this?
That's what it sounds like. How did that happen?
Yeah. Won 2 Saturn Awards.
Huh.
For Best Director and Best Writing.
Yeah, fair.
I don't know who won the Best Actor categories, but
I'm gonna guess Titanic won that year.
Titanic, yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio or something. Or maybe Con Air, maybe John Malkovich. also won 2 MTV Movie Awards. Best Action Sequence for the boat chase.
Okay.
The crazy boat chase. You okay?
Yeah, my cat just knocked over the mic.
Of course, yeah.
She's upset. I've been ignoring her for too long.
And best on-screen duo for you and the cat.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. For Travolta and Cage, of course.
Yeah, that one's definitely deserved.
Very well deserved, yeah. They play themselves and each other. I mean, Nick Cassavetes has a supporting role in this movie. The same year, he directed another movie starring John Travolta called She's So Lovely.
Huh.
Which I have never seen.
Wasn't the year before this Broken Arrow, too?
Broken Arrow, yeah. Nick Cassavetes wasn't in it, though.
Oh, yeah, but that's a busy time for John Travolta.
Yeah. I think he made, like, several movies in 1997, so yeah.
Huh.
John Travolta starred in Old Dogs, which also featured Robin Williams.
Huh.
Robin Williams was in House of D, which co-starred Frank Langella, and Frank Langella played Skeletor in
There it is.
Masters of the Universe. Have to get it in somehow. Oliver Wood, who did the cinematography for this movie, also did the cinematography for the greatest movie of all time, Morbius.
Ooh, good.
Yep. 2 of my favorite movies right there. Morbius and Face Off. And apparently there is a sequel in the works.
Feels kind of late for a sequel.
And I don't know how they would do that either. Maybe it's a movie focused on Troy's son? I don't know.
See, what they should do is instead make like a remake. Then what they do is they get Nick Cage and Travolta to come back, but then they switch their roles. So that Travolta plays Troy and Cage plays Sean Archer at the beginning of the movie. So we just get like the polar opposite of what we actually got.
Somebody should edit this movie so they could do that. That wouldn't actually be that hard to do.
Yeah.
Just switch some of the order of the scenes. But Adam Wingard, he's attached to direct the sequel.
Okay.
And it's supposed to have a different cast. I don't know who they were considering, but hell, I don't even know if this thing is off the ground or anything.
Yeah.
I guess it's just stuck in, like, development limbo or something.
Yeah.
The original choices for Sean Archer and Castor Troy were Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That makes sense for the time.
In that order, I think. So I guess Stallone is... Oh my god. You would have gotten Stallone acting like Arnold Schwarzenegger as the bad guy, and then you have Arnold Schwarzenegger acting as...
That would be so weird.
Ooh-wee, you good looking, you hot. I don't know. And this was when the script was more sci-fi themed. Honestly, this would have been really funny to have seen that.
Yeah, I really want to know what that would have been like.
Probably would have been a terrible movie, but it would have been very interesting.
It would be, and that would be like a landmark movie too.
Because you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Stallone, you know, they'd been like, they were kind of rivals for a while, you know, in the action movie business. So seeing them play each other and also like Oh man. Johnny Depp was also considered for Sean Archer,
Really?
but he passed after reading the script.
So that would have been Johnny Depp and Nicolas Cage.
And apparently Nicolas Cage is the one who discovered Johnny Depp.
Really?
He played a game of Monopoly with him and said he should be an actor.
Why does that sound like the most Nick Cage story ever?
And then he got him in contact with his agent, Nick Cage. Yeah. They were probably doing mushrooms with his cat, too, for all we know. White heat apparently influenced the plot of this movie. With the plot of them infiltrating a prison. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. All the stuff with, like, the prison and stuff, that was apparently based on White Heat. Apparently the script was optioned as far back as 1991 to
wow.
Warner Brothers and Joel Silver. It ended up at Paramount instead, and the director was originally Rob Cohen, who later directed The Fast and the Furious and Triple X.
But
the script ended up in Turnaround, and he did Dragonheart instead. Nicolas Cage himself considers this movie a masterpiece.
I mean, yeah.
I can't argue with that. I also watched the making of documentary, and there's some tidbits in there which are interesting. I mentioned the original script had more sci-fi themes.
Yeah.
And they wanted both the villain and the hero to be interesting and complex. Their idea initially was they wanted to do a sci-fi version of Birdman of Alcatraz. And then one of the writers said came up with a face idea because one of his friends was in an accident and had a face operation. John Woo was reluctant to make it at first because it was going to be this huge budget sci-fi movie. And the original script was set in 2025, had floating cars, and holograms of Marilyn Monroe, among other things. This sounds like Blade Runner. Honestly.
A little bit, yeah.
Blade Runner 2049.
I wonder if that script is out there somewhere.
The prison was a sphere in the middle of the ocean. And John Woo, he turned it down, and Rob Cohen was attached. Then, while he was working on Broken Arrow, John Woo got offered the project again after a rewrite. And what was interesting watching the making of documentary was it showed how the actors imitated each other.
Really?
John Travolta mimicked Nicolas Cage's walk, among other things, and Nicolas Cage imitated John Travolta's face mannerisms. And it was kind of interesting seeing, like, footage side by side, you know? And there were a lot of ad-libs. Some of the scene with Troy and his brother in the prison was ad-libbed. Like the sex sandwich line. Which apparently John Woo really liked that line. The scene where Nicolas Cage says, "I'm gonna take his face off," was improvised when they were really tired one night from shooting.
Yeah, I could see that.
They do kind of, yeah. You just assume they're on drugs, and that's why they are acting a little weird, but yeah. Nicolas Cage thought he was born in the year of the dragon, so that's why dragons are carved on the gun grips of his pistols.
I guess that works.
And also, the writers were surprised at how shy and quiet John Woo was. They expected him to be a big, bombastic figure like John Huston. And there was also a bit of a language barrier, so sometimes he'd have to have lines explained to him. That also might explain why there's ad-libs, too.
Yeah.
In behind-the-scenes footage, Nicolas Cage gave John Woo a Dirty Harry poster as a present.
Huh.
That's nice of him. I'd like a Dirty Harry poster. It also looks and sounds like working on this movie was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it looks like they were having a blast like the whole time.
Especially with John Travolta and Nicolas Cage imitating each other, too.
Yeah.
And apparently most of the special effects were practical.
Huh.
Which is very unusual for a late 90s action movie. John Woo also apparently had a lot of the camera cuts in his head while filming. So he's an actual visionary right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super impressive.
That is, yeah. The ending had negative reactions from the studio since he brings the villain's kid home. And they apparently wanted it to just end with John Travolta coming home.
I think I could see why John Woo maybe wanted to have the kid come back. Because otherwise, what you've done is just killed both of these kids' parents and everyone that he knew, and then just left him there.
Yeah.
That does feel a little mean-spirited.
It does, yeah. Yeah, because where's this kid gonna go now?
Yeah.
Apparently, Joe Bob Briggs has a cameo in this movie.
Really?
During the scene where they're going to electrocute Nicolas Cage.
Huh.
Which I did not notice while watching it. I didn't find that out until later. John Travolta asked the writers if they were making fun of him with the ridiculous chin line. They explained that Castor was such a narcissist that he would hate having anyone else's face.
I suppose that makes sense in universe.
Nick Cassavetes surprised John Woo by shaving his head for the role. Woo said it was just the image he wanted.
Yeah? I mean, I can't really imagine that character with hair.
It's like most of the movies he's in, he has hair. I think even in Hangover Part 2, he has hair. The crew shot on Nicolas Cage's birthday. John Woo let Cage get emotionally charged up for a scene, then surprised him with a birthday cake.
I feel like that would kind of kill the momentum right there.
Afterwards, Cage asked Woo not to do that again.
I've got one piece of trivia right here.
What?
Joel Schumacher visited Nicolas Cage on set and offered him the role of Jonathan Crane, or the Scarecrow, in a sequel to Batman and Robin. The movie never happened, but the two would later work together on 8mm.
8mm, yeah. Which does not feel at all like a Batman movie. It's really weird watching some of Joel Schumacher's other movies. Besides
this is an
two.
Interesting cast. I'm just now looking at the cast for 8mm.
I'm trying to remember who else is in it. It's been a while.
You got Joaquin Phoenix, James Gandolfini.
Oh, damn, yeah. I forgot Joaquin Phoenix.
Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus, yeah. Norman Reedus should, like, open up a library and then call it the Reedus Library. Or something. According to his blood test results, Castor Troy's glycohemoglobin is much higher than 6.5%. He most likely has diabetes.
Well, that's a little sad.
You know, considering the life he lives, I mean...
Maybe that's why he was talking about how he could eat a peach for hours.
Because he probably has. Oh. Okay, I'm so glad I found this. Other pairs of actors that were considered for... Okay. I was hoping I'd be able to find this. So we established Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford and Michael Douglas.
Oh, that would have been an interesting movie.
Harrison Ford as the villain. And Michael Douglas starts off as the villain, and then Harrison. Oh man,
Oh, that would be so weird.
Bruce Willis and Alec Baldwin.
That one would have been weird.
Let's see Bruce Willis do his best Jack Donaghy impression. This one makes sense. Al Pacino and Robert De Niro.
Yeah, that one makes a lot of sense, actually.
Because they'd just done Heat a few years before this, so it basically would have just been Heat, but then they switch each other's faces. Which, honestly, you know what? That could have worked, actually. Because Al Pacino's performance in this goes pretty over the top at points.
Yeah.
That's because she's got a great ass, and you got your head all the way up it. Jean-Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal.
Oh, that one would have been weird.
And also would probably never happen because they fucking hate each other.
Really?
Well, Steven Seagal hates Jean-Claude Van Damme. But, he has an ego problem.
Yeah.
That's an understatement. There's like one story I heard about Steven Seagal. It was, I think it was on the set of the movie The Glimmer Man. And like, Steven Seagal like came onto the set and he said to like one of the actors, like, I just read the greatest script ever. And then he asked him who wrote it, and Seagal said, I did. Denzel Washington and Wesley Snipes. Okay. What's the last one? Which would have been interesting.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that Wesley Snipes would be playing Castor Troy.
Probably. Well, he'd be playing Castor Troy at first.
Yeah, until they switch, yeah.
Don't forget, both actors would have to both be the hero and the villain at some point.
Oh my god. Apparently Mark Wahlberg was considered to play Pollux Troy.
Huh.
But he turned it down. I guess because he's like, I'd rather be in Boogie Nights. Apparently, Alessandro Nivola's voice and mannerisms as Pollux Troy was based on Charles Crumb, the brother of artist Robert Crumb, who appeared in the documentary Crumb.
Really?
That explains a bit. Which I actually have seen that documentary. It is one of the most uncomfortable things. Just... What? Okay. In early drafts of the script, Archer went to Castor's mother's place to hide out. The writers wanted the mother to be played by Elizabeth Taylor or Jack Nicholson in drag.
What?
You could not think of two more different choices for the same role right there.
Yeah, that's
Let's see. Elizabeth Taylor,
Jack Nicholson
or
in
Jack
drag.
Nicholson in drag. I guess you sort of got that in Batman. He's wearing makeup, but yeah, that's interesting. Oh. John Travolta and Nicolas Cage were considered to reunite after this movie for The Expendables 2 and Killing Season, but scheduling conflicts caused them to not reunite again.
Well, that's a shame.
And Robert De Niro replaced Cage in The Killing Season opposite John Travolta. Don't watch The Killing Season, it's a terrible movie. John Travolta tries doing like a Serbian accent in that. It is just painful to listen to. Oh, Seconds was also a influence on the plot of this movie. That makes sense, actually. Because that movie's also about a guy getting an operation to change his face.
Huh.
I guess they're like, let's see, white heat and seconds.
That's all we need. We got the plot. Let's go.
Yep. Oh, apparently Patrick Swayze was being sought for one of the lead parts.
Huh. Not so sure about that one.
What? Are you kidding me? Okay. The movie inspired the TV show The Clone Wars episode Deception, which had a similar plot.
Oh, yeah, that episode.
Wait, let me read this. In the episode, Obi-Wan Kenobi undergoes a face transformation procedure where he assumes the identity of bounty hunter, how do you pronounce it? Reiko Harding? How do you pronounce that?
Hold on, let me get the...
Reiko Harding? I don't know how to... And he goes undercover in her public jail so he can foil the plot to kidnap Chancellor Palpatine. Okay, yeah, that's clearly Face Off. I mean...
Yeah.
And let me guess, does he, steal Obi-Wan Kenobi's face and try to pass himself? Oh my god. I guess I never made it that far into the show.
If I remember, that was kind of late, like the 4th or 5th season, I think.
Originally, Nicolas Cage turned down the role of Castor Troy, citing a lack of interest in playing a villain. However, once he was told that he would actually be playing the hero for a majority of the film, he quickly signed on.
Huh.
I guess, yeah, he doesn't really play the main villain in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Like anti-heroes, yeah. Or just crazy people.
Yeah, but never usually just an outright villain.
Oh yeah, The Rock also has Nicolas Cage breaking into a prison.
Oh, yeah.
And Con Air, he's in the prison. Oh my god. Wait.
Nick Cage prison trilogy.
All 3 Nicolas Cage action movies in 1996 and 1997 had him in, like, a prison at some point. Oh, that's funny. I didn't even think of that. Alright. Oh my god, I'm exhausted.
Face Off takes a lot out of you.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those movies that, what else can you say?
It's so insane the whole way through.
It's fantastic, though. It is.
Yeah.
It's definitely... If I was doing a list of, like, favorite action movies, then it would for sure be on that list.
Yeah.
And like I said before, it's a pretty easy pick for favorite Nicolas Cage movie.
Definitely favorite John Travolta.
And favorite John Travolta movie, yeah. Because again, how many movies do you get where you have Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage and John Travolta playing Nicolas Cage? I mean, and vice versa as well, yeah.
Yeah.
That, I guess next time we're doing Conan the Barbarian. We're doing the Conan the Barbarian movies. Well, the Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer, I think we established.
Yeah, we're doing Barbarian, then Destroyer.
And then Red Sonja, if you want to throw that one in, too.
This is actually my first time watching the Conan movies.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's been a while.
All right, well, with that, roll the Andy Griffith.
Andy Griffith, yep.
Good night, you stupid idiot. Good night, you miserable slob.